I was crying last night. I didn't exactly know why. It was a very significant weeping. These happen, especially when there's some sort of tax being waived off. And sometimes when they waive these taxes or tariffs off onto me, and they hurt like they do, it's because they're using it to finance a political assassination or an act of terrorism. In 2017, between December and February of 2017, I composed a list of questions that were supposed to be about a ethics review for the Sunset Commission of the State Bar of Texas. I submitted it to the people that had requested and with whom I was conversing. I don't think their consideration of ethics was the same as mine. They deleted that document, and within 2 months, I was under detention for an alleged mental illness after I tried to report fraud and child abuse. If they had considered that, there would have been plenty of financing to prosecute these criminals, as opposed to leveraging the lives of children to cover up for them. I learned at some point something that lawyers don't tell you. I believe that refusal to support appropriate application of the death penalty in capital cases means that what you do is you leverage the lives of children as the default when you cannot deliver on a hedge connected to your caseload or to the system within which you are operating. All of these advocates who are against the death penalty, for whatever reason, don't want to tell you this. They don't want to tell you that. In our country, certain federal crimes are prosecutable with capital punishment. Certain states allow for capital punishment. If you do not exercise your option to execute for capital crimes, then you've leveraged the safety of the most vulnerable. Now, they don't tell you this, especially if you're not a lawyer. I now believe it's absolutely the truth. When they stopped the campaign to end the death penalty in Illinois, the primary reason I understand it was abolished was because police corruption was so rampant that they could not guarantee that a prosecution for a capital crime was legitimately obtained. Is that because police know? The police unions know what the actual capital potential of a conviction for capital crimes is? Is it a form of insurance for them? So, what does it mean when you commit insurance fraud? Because you haven't secured your city or your people with appropriate convictions for crimes that deserve the state or the government to execute the criminals. How many children have been murdered because people's political opportunism and bribery needed to be covered up with what was actually evidence of their culpability? Every murdered child is on their hands. It is completely disingenuous to try to advocate as if you support abolishing the death penalty for some religious or other reason without exposing the true extent of this criminality. Is it because we live in a Christian nation where we're all the children of God? And when certain children commit heinous crimes like raping an actual child or murdering somebody because they're too high or they're too selfish in the moment, that when we don't execute them for being criminals under our laws, then God calls home his own, the most vulnerable that we've refused to protect. Every murdered child is on the hands of every single one of you that co conspired with these opportunists to cover up for their crimes. If you hadn't let them steal charity to try to extort into acts of prostitution to finance more crime, those children in Yemen would not have been murdered. Exactly 2 years ago, tomorrow, there were articles published about how a school bus was blown up, ostensibly by Saudi Arabia in Yemen. That was the same time that the city of Dallas was playing games with some sort of cameras on school buses scandal. You sons of bitches all know exactly what that means. They were making child pornography under the auspices of what? Gas and oil production? You busted somebody for a token prosecution, and you've maintained the systematology ever since. Every single one of those murdered children is on your head.